Hello, this is Leonard, and would you take a look at that? Better quality videos. I got my hands on a better phone from one of my family members, so yeah, I know what I want for the next Christmas. And on that point, I hope you all had some pleasant holidays, and I'm gonna be uploading this video right on the new year or somewhere along that side. So anyhow, today I wanted to talk about my Dendrobium orchids, and this is it. I have only two. I think you can already tell that I'm not a big Dendrobium orchid enthusiast, and I'm a person who likes not too many but really showy flowers, maybe more like the large bloomed cattleyas. So Dendrobiums are not necessarily my cup of tea, and care for them is also a bit confusing, but today I will touch base on that, of how I do it. But I wanted to start with introducing my Dendrobiums. So this big, green, leafy, juicy boy is my no ID Dendrobium, which I suspect might be the Comet King. So as you can see here, right now is basically the new year, like literally the boundary where the years separate, 31st December, and my orchids are starting to come out of their dormancy, as you can see. It's less evident on my Comet King, because it has a lot of green leaves, but you can see here it's working on a couple of flower buds. It's really cute, honestly, but the count of them is not abundant at all whatsoever. But I'm gonna begin with telling you how I water them. And I don't. I really haven't almost watered any of my Dendrobiums from, like, I don't know, October, end of October, somewhere around that side. I didn't pay attention. And you can see the old growths on my Comet King are a bit desiccated. That's normal. What you should be looking at is the new growths. And they're a slight bit shriveled, but it's nothing too much. As you can see, it has created a hell of a lot of roots. You can't see it in the pot, but its root system is really healthy. So I spray it with simple water from time to time without any fertilizer. I've heard if you put fertilizer on Dendrobiums in the winter rest period, they have a high chance of creating keikis. And I don't want that. I'm not a keiki fan. But in the last growing season, it has more than doubled itself in size, although I suspect it might have grown better. As you can see, the ends of some of the leaves show signs of too little water. So if I would have cared for it better, it could have been even more impressive, and it is impressive already. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 new growths the last season. All seem to be basically like large. They're all large, and all of them still have most of their leaves. Some are dropping, but that's normal. So better view on it, maybe. It grew in the direction of the sun, and the reason why it doesn't seem to be creating a lot of flower buds right now is because it was grown on a northern exposure. This is one of the old orchids of my mother, you know. She started with the orchids, not me, and this might be around 4 or 5 years old already. I don't know specifically, but as far as I learned from Roger, and I definitely recommend him if you want to learn things about Dendrobium care. As far as I learned from him, you need to give Dendrobiums a lot of light in the dormancy period, because in their wild habitat, deciduous forests, all the trees drop their leaves, so they're naturally exposed to much more light quantities. and my Dendrobium didn't receive a lot of light, so that's the reason why it likely isn't creating a lot of blooms now that it's coming out of its dormancy. And the biochemistry, let's call it like that, behind this is plants create sugars from light. No sugars, no blooms. Okay? Poor light, poor sugar, poor blooming. Simple. So I think that takes this one out the way. It's a really bushy orchid. I will stake it up, and next year maybe I will move to another house which is bigger and has a lot more windows, hopefully. If that will happen, I will show you if you're interested. So it will likely receive even better care next year. This one isn't looking like it's creating any new growths as of yet. So the next one is my Dendrobium Stardust. As you can see, it doesn't have any leaves. I really don't know if this is normal for an orchid to do, but this is definitely a recovering one. I bought it in full bloom, as you can see by this picture, on these 3 canes where you can see a lot of the flower spikes. I bought this precisely a year ago, last Christmas time, and it created this year these 2 smaller growths. And that's definitely not a sign that it's the happiest. And if you will look at my reporting video I did at autumn, you will see how it looked like with its leaves still. Basically speaking, it didn't have enough water while it was growing, and the medium was also a bit shady. But right now, you can see these. It's coming out of its dormancy full force, but these are not new growths. These are keikis. You can see they're not coming from the base of the plant. They're coming up this canes. These are keikis. You can see one, this is definitely a keiki, I would assume, and it's for the forming farther up. Once it will actually prove itself to be a keiki, I will be taking it off, because I don't need any keikis to be growing up the plant. I want them to be able to reach the medium and put some roots down. And this orchid isn't looking like it's gonna create any blooms, but I'm not blaming it for it. I don't need blooms, I need a healthy orchid. With healthy orchid comes an abundance of blooms. So yeah, if the keiki is farther up, if they're gonna be keikis, I'm gonna be taking them off, and these lower ones I'm gonna leave because their roots are going to reach the base. And I only just now, while filming the video, noticed it's creating some new basal growth, so that's a very positive sign. And now that they're creating new growths, and buds on the other one, I'm gonna be increasing gradually their water. I don't want to dunk them and over soak them right now, because that will lead to root rot, but I will take them out of their dormancy now, so they would have the power to work on their growths and stuff. Sorry, maybe I'm a bit awkward, I'm really not used to filming, and that ugly thing right there, that's my pool. Yeah, it's under reconstruction, in progress. It will continue next spring. Don't talk about it. Let's focus on the beautiful things in life. Look at the snow. This one fell right now, okay, this night. And the snow melted off previously, and it turned into an ice skating field all around my village. So that's fun, but at least we have snow for New Year. That's a positive sign. Okay, let's not get too sidetracked. I wanted to talk about the parentage of my Dendrobium hybrids. I wrote it down. What I assume to be Comet King consists of Dendrobium nobile, Dendrobium findleyanum, Dendrobium heterocarpum, and Dendrobium signatum, or whatever you pronounce it as. I forgot a bit of my Latin pronunciation, which I learned at university, sorry for that. I don't know what these species mean, okay? You can go on orchidspecies.com or other places and research about the care for these species which I mentioned to better understand what your particular hybrid would need. I don't understand. I give them all the same treatment. If they're starting to create new growths or buds, they're coming out to dormancy. I can distinguish between Dendrobium nobile and Dendrobium phalaenopsis type. Good enough. You don't give dormancy to Dendrobium phalaenopsis. Not as you do it to Dendrobium nobile. And sorry for the shaking camera, maybe I'm too excited. And my Stardust, it's a primary hybrid between a species. And the species is Dendrobium unicum. And that's the one which gives it the beautiful orange colored blooms. And the other parent is a complex hybrid, which consists of mainly Dendrobium moniliforme and Dendrobium nobile. So this is basically also Dendrobium nobile type, but the only thing that's really important to me, do I need to give them a winter dormancy or not? So the temperatures which I keep them in, the circumstances. My indoor temperatures fluctuate daily between 18 degrees and 24 degrees Celsius. Those are not optimal Dendrobium winter rest temperatures, but decent, okay? You know, they will live by. Yeah, okay? I don't think that temperatures are the most important thing for orchids to, you know, stay in the boundaries of, unless you're dealing with orchids which need a certain temperature all the time, like Miltoniopsis would need lower temperatures. And the moisture levels in my house are not high. I don't know them, but I suspect them to be somewhere around 30 or 40. But moisture in my country in the autumn season is around 90%. So I'm definitely living in a place which, you know, has a positive predisposition for growing colder growers and resting orchids. Another thing which is important to mention, the Stardust doesn't have a strong fragrance. It has a hint of a fragrance, but it's really basically not a fragrance. It's a hint of a fragrance. But my Comet King has a wonderful fragrance of Phrasias. It's not very strong, but if I'll ever have big bountiful flowering, it's probably going to be quite intense, so I'm definitely looking forward to that in the next years. And also another positive thing, it's not creating a lot of buds this time, but the nubbins are still viable. So the next time it's going to be blooming next year, next spring or winter, it's gonna have the new growths to bloom from and the old ones to bloom from. So if you don't have success with Dendrobium blooming at a certain year, do not be frustrated. Next year might surprise you very positively. But I'm just happy I didn't kill my Stardust. I'm happy it's actually doing something, because it losing all of its leaves was definitely scary. So yeah, that out of the way, have a happy new year. And as Roger said, a successful orchid growing year. Now that's a very good wish for the next year. So bye.